UNDP's Food and Agricultural Commodity Systems community, joining you from Portugal. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. You can type your name, your organization, and the location you're joining us from today. I know we've had around 200 registration for this event today from many countries, so curious to see who has joined us for the session. I would like to also mention that this event is jointly organized by UNDP's FACS community and Evidensia. And I would like to introduce our moderator for today. Noemi, welcome. Noemi Black is the Associate Manager for Impacts and Evidence at ISPO. And before handing over to Naomi to give us an overview about today's event and walk us through the agenda, I wanted to mention that this event is recorded, and we have a dedicated Q&A box. So you can locate it in the bottom toolbar of the Zoom. And this will be the space where you can address any questions to the speakers if you have any questions related to the content of the presentations or anything that you would like to learn more. We will address those questions after the event, but this is the space in case you have any questions. With this, over to you, Naomi, and thank you.
Thanks very much, Alex. Good morning to some, good afternoon to some, and welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining this very important session. I think if we just go to the next slide, I'll start by just saying palm oil is one of the world's most widely used vegetable oils. Indonesia and Malaysia are producing over 80% of the global supply, making it vital to both economies. Major importers like India, China, and the EU are relying on it for food, cosmetics, and even biofuels. And as demand grows, the challenge is balancing palm oil's economic value with environmental sustainability and social responsibility. So over time, several standards have emerged to address this, including the now mandatory MSPO in Malaysia, ISPO in Indonesia, and the voluntary RSPO schemes. Each brings distinct requirements and impacts, raising key questions about how they align and complement each other. Today's session begins a vital conversation at the intersection of trade, regulation, and voluntary action. We'll explore what it would take to move the sector towards more harmonized, inclusive, and effective governance. We're going to look at how the standards' aims overlap, and Professor Etsuya Machida is going to give us a great presentation to outline that. We're going to look at how each is evolving, particularly in the realms of smallholder inclusion and traceability. And for that, we'll be hearing from the standard setters themselves. And we'll explore in an express panel Q&A how the standards are engaging with emerging markets and their thoughts on opportunities for collaboration. We'll hear from independent research, as I said, from the standard setters themselves, and close with that short panel discussion. Please do submit your questions in the Q&A box, as Alex said, though we won't touch on them formally. Our speakers may be able to address them during or after the session. So if we could just move to the next slide, please, Laura. We're delighted to introduce our distinguished panelists for today's session. First, Professor Etsuya Machida from Nanzan University in Japan, who also serves as an academic advisor to the UN Forum for Sustainability Standards. She'll open our discussion with that overview presentation that sets the stage for today's dialogue. Next, we're honored to have Mr. Muhammad Hasbullah Supriyono, representing the Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Standard, MSPO. Joining them is Mr. Muhammad Edi Yusuf, representing the Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil Standard, ISPO. And rounding out our panel, Ms. Cheryl Ong, representing the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil, RSPO. Together, their expertise spans research, policy, and on-the-ground implementation, a combination that will be invaluable as we explore the present and future of sustainability in this vital sector. But if we move to the next slide, please, we'd first like to get to know you all a little bit. So our question for you is, what is your main reason for joining today's event on palm oil standards? A Zoom poll window should be automatically popping up on your screen. If you could select one of the options and click submit, that would be great. Just to walk you through the options, they are to understand the differences between RSPO, ISPO, and MSPO, to stay updated on the latest certification requirements and policies, and to learn about smallholder inclusion and certification challenges, or to explore market and trade implications of different standards. So I'll give you all a chance to fill that out and submit it. I think we're almost halfway there. But it looks quite tied between understanding the difference between RSPO, ISPO, and MSPO, and staying updated on the latest certification requirements and policies. And just by those to learn about smallholder inclusion and certification challenges. So thank you everyone for filling that in. If you haven't, please do go ahead. But in the meantime, we'll just move to our first presentation. Just a reminder to please close the results box yourself. But now let's dive into today's session. To start us off, it's my pleasure to introduce Ezio Machida. Professor Machida, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Naomi. And then I really appreciate for this event. And then it's my honor to speak about the certifications. And I have been working on the environmental regulations and standards and how these impact on Asian producers. And that's why I'm now speaking here. And yes, so I'd like to start my presentation. So my presentation is about setting the stage in national and voluntary palm oil standards. Next, please. As you know, private standards have been leading managing sustainability in different sectors, including palm oil sectors. And then the first motivations, of course, is in order for consumers in mainly in developed countries would like to purchase the goods produced in sustainable way. And then private standards are have a role to transmit the information from producer side to consumer market. So this is how the RSPO, one of the leading private standards for palm oil sector, was developed. And then this is called RSPO, and the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil. And this is a non-state market-driven certification scheme and developed by multi-stakeholders approach in 2003. And then following the RSPO, and then partly the RSPO stimulate for the other institution, Indonesian government have started up their own certification scheme called ISPO, Indonesian Sustainable Palm Oil, in 2011, and MSPO, that's Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil, was developed in 2013. So now, of course, there are other certification schemes, but these are the major schemes covering palm oil sector sustainability issues. And then we would like to we like to see that how these three different certification scheme collaborate or substitute or sometimes competing probably, but then I'd like to show that my view on that. And then first, probably in order to cut out the whole the middle part, I directly go to the result. And then I'd like to mention that RSPO has a strong link to the Northern Western consumer market. And then also ESG investors, primarily through growers owned by listed companies. Listed companies mean the companies that are traded in the stock market. And on the other hand, MSPO, ISPO focus on smallholders and emerging market that are plugged into the global value chains of northern consumer and capital market. So these are the major results, or conclusions. So I go one by one to show you. Next, please. So these are the really simplified differences in characteristics among RSPO and then ISPO, MSPO. The first, RSPO has been the leading certification scheme in the palm oil sectors, and it was developed and then revised up until 2024. And then dynamics of the RSPO is this is a private voluntary schemes. So they try to raise the bar, and then they try to strengthen the standards, and then try to bring up the sustainability management way. And that is how RSPO is functioning. And then in order to do that, promoting segregated certification oil while aiming at diffusing further. So it's more about segregation because they try to benefit those consumers and producers who are managing sustainably, managing the production sustainably. So that is how they function. And the major market is the North, the European, US, Western market, where the probably consumers with higher awareness are located. And then because this is voluntary and scheme, the participation is just a participation by members and voluntary. So that voluntary means there's no penalty for joining or going out, exiting. So, but the members, there are time-bound plan requested for about how they are complying with regulations. And the RSPO is non-profit organizations, and then this is the driver is market driven. So because there is a consumers, and then in order to meet the consumers' demand, there is a producers who wants to obtain this certification because of sometimes they can get the premium for that, and then consumers paying for the premium, and that will be transferred to the producers. And then producer participants is because this is voluntary, and then so the participants tend to be producers owned by the listed companies, although the non-listed companies can also participate. And then sustainability focus is originally they're more focusing on the environmental side, but now they're addressing more all the dimensions of sustainability. And then they produce a premium, and then that depends on supply and demand, and then the price would be negotiated for suppliers and buyers. And on the other hand, public certification scheme developed by Indonesian government, Malaysian government, ISPO, MSPO started a bit later, and then it's also revised many times. And then dynamics is a bit different. For RSPO, it's more about the raising the bar, but then they intend to raise the floor. So in order for them, the main focus for them is to try to diffuse the system among the smallholders. So promoting to all growers from the beginning is their focus. And the major market is for palm oil actually is China, India, and emerging market. So, and then also this system is mandatory. So these emerging market are covered by ISPO and MSPO. And then also the scheme owner is so that the government. And then driver is not market driven, it's more producers driven. And then their standards is mostly based on their own country's law. And then the one of the big difference between the RSPO and then ISPO, MSPO are that all the mills and growers, including small scale producers, need to join a mandatory. I mean, depending on the time, it's the timing for the making it mandatory is different, but that's the aim for them. And then the standards have a various aspects, but more on poverty reduction and equitable development, and so on. Next, please. So when we take a look at the export market of palm oil, this is a graph for, on the left-hand side is Malaysia, and the right-hand side is for Indonesia. It's between 2010 to 2019. Then basically, the message is that the palm oil's major markets are developing or emerging economies, India, China, and then African countries, and so on. And then the share of the developed economy is relatively small. Next, please. And then, and also, and when we take a look at the domestic consumption of palm oil, Indonesia and Malaysia, they try to utilize their own vegetable oil domestically. They have policies for B10, B20, and B40. They are increasing the level, but then they try to mix up with the diesel oil with palm oil. So they try to utilize the palm oil domestically as biofuel. So, and then on the right-hand side graph shows that, so what's the share of the palm oil productions of the RSPO certified palm oil production? So basically this from 2015 to 2019, around 70 to 21% are certified by RSPO. Next, please. Yes, and then this is how these certified producers are located. Thanks to MSPO and ISPO for the transparency of data, I tried to obtain some of the palm oil plantations data, and then probably it's a bit too difficult to see, but the black dot represents the ISPO, MSPO data. That means the plantations. I mean, if we think that then this is the whole plantations, because the ISPO, MSPO are mandatory, these are usually representing the whole plantations. And then the red spot are identified as RSPO certified producers. And then for MSPO side, this is as of 2020, so probably updated information will be given by the following speakers. But then 10% of growers are certified by RSPO, and then in terms of area, 17%, and then in terms of number of mills, 34% are certified by RSPO. Next, please. And then, there are some plantations that decide to take a certification of RSPO, and then there are plantations that decide not to take the certification, and then how they decide the certifications obtaining. So this is the result that I do a small regression studies. And then this is the data is coming from Malaysia side, and then the number of observations is 4,365. And then so I try to estimate what kind of factors contribute to the decision making of RSPO certification by the plantations. And then what I find, I mean, because of the limited time, I try to move to only the conclusion part. But then export volume to the Western market provide incentive for obtaining RSPO. And then among the producers of listed companies that are traded on the stock market, producers located closer to the seaport tends to obtain RSPO certifications. This is probably because that those RSPO certified oil could be exported to the Western market through seaports. And then, so in that sense, export to the Western market provide incentive for producers to obtain RSPO. And then producers owned by listed companies tend to obtain RSPO. You can see from the this listed variables, and then this is a significant sign. So producers owned by listed companies tend to obtain RSPO, implying that the ESG alter the producer's behavior. And then also producers with larger plantation area tend to obtain RSPO. Next, please. So this is a really simplified the picture of how ISPO, MSPO, and RSPO are complementing with each other. So on the producer countries, and the green area are the usual area, I mean conventional oil producers, and then this orange area is the producers who are certified by RSPO. And then certified producers by RSPO tends to supply to the RSPO market, which is usually in the Western market, EU or US or some Japanese market. But there are the market among the developed countries that are not requiring RSPO or sustainability certification. So that is represented by this green area for the this part. And then also emerging consumer markets. I mean, because of the income level or because of the educational culture, there are not much demand yet for the sustainable palm oil. So these oils are going to the emerging market. So the RSPO producers will be going to the RSPO market, which is one of the segment of the developed consumer market. But the ISPO, MSPO market is oil is going to the emerging consumer market. So because they are both type of certified oil, they could cover the whole range of countries, including global north and global south. Next, please. So now we are seeing the smart mix of public and private initiatives for smallholder inclusiveness. So now for this seminar is focusing on smallholders, and then 40% of palm oil producers are smallholders, and then we need to reach out to more smallholder. And then that is exactly the key for sustainability of global public goods, such as protection of forestry and then global warming. And then all three certification bodies develop standards tuned for smallholders and offer assistance and capacity building. And ISPO, MSPO strengthen the replanting program that helps smallholders to increase yield in the long run. So, and there are cases that receiving RSPO premium helps smallholders to comply with ISPO, because once they are complying ISPO, they can apply for the fund for replanting fund, for example, in Indonesia. So there are interaction among different certifications, and then they reinforce the impact and creating scalable impact. Next, please. So in summary, the analysis shows that ISPO, MSPO, and RSPO are complementary, and we need all mechanisms to scale the impact of certifications. As the certification reaches out different segments of consumer market, capital markets, and producers. And forestry biodiversity is a global public goods, and the solution needs to be addressed for whole area. If we are just relying on RSPO, probably there are left out regions that cannot meet the standards that is provided by RSPO. But because of the ISPO, MSPO, they can also covered. And then those who are covered, including smallholders. And the interaction between public and private initiatives contribute to sustainability on the ground because their motivations and the focus are different. And after the diffusion reach certain stages in future, RSPO is now reaching like 20. I mean, probably the RSPO representative will give you the exact figure, but then certain stages, and then ISPO, MSPO now on the progressing for increasing the impact. So after some point, probably harmonization benchmarking among public and private initiatives helps reduce duplications. That can come in future. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ezio. Perfectly timed. It's clear there's many layers to consider, but a clear message of complementarity and more space to align. Now we are going to hear from the standard setters themselves on the direction of travel for their standards and their thoughts on alignment in the sector. Given the dominance of smallholders in the sector and increase in due diligence requirements, we've asked the standards to all comment specifically on their work around the issue of smallholders and/or traceability. And first is MSPO's Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Mohammed Hasbullah Suprayano, who will give us the perspective from Malaysia. So, Maud, we look forward to your insights.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for having me today, despite a very hectic schedule. But yeah, this is very important platform, especially for MSPO and what we're trying to do in sharing as much as information as possible to the to the global audience. Thank you for the opportunity. Maybe I jump straight to the next slide. I mean, for the benefit of everyone, yeah. MSPO 360-degree, because there's always confusion or maybe misconception regarding MSPO itself, MSPO as an organization or MSPO as running a certification scheme or the products itself. And I attended, I think, the several, I think recently 2 meetings, one in Brussels and recently, yes, last week, with also the European delegations or audience with regard to MSPO. So I think this is important to highlight that MSPO is actually a non-profit organization, though we are linked to the government but operating independently with our own governance. And also maybe this is not as good as what we expect it to be. We always compare or benchmark ourselves against ISIL, to be frank, when we first started MSPO. But in terms of scheme, we do have integrated framework covering standard setting, assurance, traceability, claims in one coherent system. And now we are looking into improving our impact framework and mechanism. And when we speak about standard, yes, MSPO 1.0 last time was different. The recent MSPO 2.0, I mean the MSPO 2022, launched in 2022, I would say we undergone a very robust processes, especially on standard setting, including local and international non-governmental organization like the ILO and some other organization locally and internationally. And we managed to come up with MSPO 2530, MSPO 2.0 for the new palm-related products under food products and also under the palm biomass under MS 2751. And in terms of assurance, having an independent third-party verification, and of course in Malaysia is very unique. We have both similar accredited certification body running 2 different schemes, other voluntary scheme and MSPO scheme, and of course we have 2 different accreditation body for different scheme. And for us, MSPO, we are actually using the National Accreditation Body as part of the International Accreditation Forum signatory. I think more than 50 countries among ourselves as member, and we go this pathway in terms of accreditation because of some sort of maybe benefits that we gain through this pathway. And also we have claims and logo. Of course, currently we have a supply chain model of SG and MB. And we have also complaint grievance remediation and currently enhancing a multi-language complaint system and work closely with NGOs. And now we are the key part is on traceability, where we actually now transition from MSPO trace last time to eMSPO, also incorporating a various improvement, especially on business intelligence, data analytics, certification monitoring, product traceability, and other schemes or other due diligence requirement embedded in the new system. For example, like for the EUDR compliance. And to monitoring all the country level GSG and SCV through the system. And when we speak about transparency, we try to align again with the international standards, though we are not part of it, but the way we are moving and operating our scheme is almost identical. And I'm happy to share that we are also now making FFB, the intermediaries, mandatory. For phase one is for the fresh fruit bunch dealer, mandatory under our scheme. Now we have, I think, one of the best complete mandatory supply chain for MSPO in Malaysia, tied to our licensing regulation under the custodian of the Malaysian Palm Oil Board. And in terms of sustainability measures, in our revised standard, we also incorporated ILO forced labor and child labor indicators, SCV, FPIC, SIA, GSG, and also anti-corruption, and also cut-off date of 2019, 31st December 2019. And we are going to see how HCS can be incorporated in the Malaysian palm oil MSPO standard, and leveraging our partners with the European Free Trade Association countries to help us in developing our HCS framework, and using MSPO as a military enforcement as a backbone to achieve sustainability goals. So this overall is what we are doing and what we have to at least to transform and uphold inclusive sustainability movement within the Malaysian palm oil sector. Next, please. So this is the most important part where we speak about smallholders inclusion. 40% of our production comes from nearly 40% come from smallholders, consists of independent and organized smallholders, and the rest driven by private sector. And if you can see here, maybe I shared it with various platform like the Fact Dialogue or even various international engagement, that the success of smallholders inclusion in Malaysia lies to the ability of the Malaysia environment to maintain political will, consistent policy that require a very strong will from the politician to maintain. Why I saying this? Because we have we have several government changes for the past 10 years since MSPO inception, but that ability to maintain those will actually is really supporting our capacity to have a mature ecosystem to support smallholders through G2G, G2B, and B2B. And finally, also about the capital that the government willing to invest through directly from the government and directly from the private sector. You see, Malaysia is very unique. We are not comparing to other countries and other certification scheme where we have actually export value around more than 100 billion Malaysian ringgit last year. And the amount of export value that we export to EU is around nearly 20 to 25 billion Malaysian ringgit. And we also have a listed plantation company, and yearly also allocated nearly 35 million just for the support of smallholders. So from the what return that we have to the export value and tax compared to the what we are giving to the smallholders, of course I think we can do better than 35 million. But because of it's a private sector driven industry, we don't have any issues and problem to have some sort of this support ecosystem together with the government and the private sector to drive. So we are coming to a pilot project, especially on EUDR, to support the readiness of smallholders, and we also have other collaboration with the research institution and also other organization, global organization on green financing. Similarly, to support independent smallholders and to support the procurement, good responsible procurement of practices for various countries between Malaysia and other countries. So this tree is very important for us to maintain and sustain our momentum, especially now we are planning to do MSPO standard revision, MSPO 3.0, upcoming one maybe somewhere in 2027. Next, please. This would be my last slide. And of course, because we are small, so we need to leverage to grow in order to grow. Hence, we work closely with our partners. And in fact, we have done various benchmarking assessment to strengthen our scheme, to improve credibility, and work with various partners locally and internationally to reach our presence and also our certification uptake, and also into the global influence and recognition. And of course, we are still looking forward to work with ISIL anyway, because this is the ISIL platform, and also we continuing work with the other platform as well, like G2G and G2B through mutual recognition and market access. Next. Thank you very much. You can always reach out to me, Muhammad hasbullah@mspo.org.my. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for sharing your current work and also showing the complexity of collaboration that's already happening. So next we turn to Indonesia and Mr. Muhammad Edi Yusuf, who is Assistant Deputy for Agri-Business Development Implantation at the Coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs. He'll be representing ISPO. Mr. Yusuf and Diane, please go ahead when you're ready. And while we're swapping the screen sharing, I invite everyone to take a stretch.
Thank you, everybody. So I'm very happy here to tell about the latest development of ISPO. So next to the slides. So first of all, I would like to tell that we already have the challenge related with the condition of palm oil, especially in Indonesia. That's we try to improve the productivity and quality of Indonesia oil palm plantation, especially for the smallholder palm plantation, because of the productivity smallholder is very low, and also growing demand for the sustainable palm oil product, and increasing demand for traceability palm oil product, and then in international policy challenge, including right now the policy in EU. And of course, right now we still realize that the certification of smallholder is still low. Next. Because of that, we just launched the new regulations related with the ISPO. That this regulation is as a revise of the previous regulation. In this regulation, we cover not only in the mainstream but on the downstream as well. Next. In these new regulations, that is, as I said, that covering not only for the mainstream, but also for the downstreams. We cover for the industry as well, and for the bioenergy as well. So this new regulation cover starting from the mainstream on downstreams, because we realize that this is very important to cover all the things related with the palm oil. And also for the smallholder itself, we give support for the funding. For this funding is given for the smallholder, because we realize that the certification for smallholder is still low. So the government give support for the funding for one cycle for 5 years. So for 5 years for smallholders, it's free of charge. And also for the this new regulation, also we make sure that all the product is can be traced. And also we develop right now is from the, we call here is ISPO certification information system development. We have a target on this is we'll start it in this November. We still right now is still try to formulate the right things for the ISPO certification information system. And then for the this new ISPO, we develop also the ISPO institution. We strengthen not only for the committee ISPO, but also for the secretariat as well. And we make sure that all the member for the ISPO committee is really do the professional things. Next. As you did, that's I mentioned before that right now we develop for the ISPO certification information system. That's first is the objective of the policy is increasing transparency and accountability in the process of certification, and then in strengthening control and monitoring ISPO certification implementations, and then it's providing valid and up-to-date data, integrated and traceable data for supporting the development related policies with databases, and ensuring all Indonesian palm oil products are produced in the clear and clean area outside the forestry area. This is very important because right now that all the international wants to make sure that the product of palm oil is coming from not coming from forestry area. And then is ensuring security and integration information with all related digital system regarding support for ISPO certification implementation. Next. This is I'm show you that for the in the center here is will clear and clean. Make sure that this is a product by the ISPO. It means that now is clean and clear outside forestry area, that they can receive ISPO certification. Next. Right now, we have the supporting regulation based on the presidential regulation. Right now is we ratifying process for the regulation starting from the standardization body, and then from the Ministry of Agriculture, and from Ministry of Industry, Ministry of the Energy, and for our office coordinating Ministry for Economic Affairs as well. So with all the next, with all the modified or the changings of the new regulation, we really hope that ISPO will be more accepted by international market. So that is our presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Yusuf, that's no mean feat in tracing products back to the source in such a complicated producing context as well. So thank you for that presentation. And last but not least, we have Ms. Cheryl Ong, Senior Manager for Research and Knowledge Management at RSPO. Cheryl, over to you.
Thank you very much, Novi. So thank you, Novi, for the introduction. And it's a pleasure today for me to be speaking here alongside Mr. Hasbullah as well as Mr. Eddie Yusuf to talk about sustainability within the palm oil industry. So without further ado, I think I'll just jump straight into my presentation. Next, please, Laura. Okay, so very briefly before I go on to talk about our journey with smallholders, just want to introduce to everyone what RSPO is. So we are a membership-based organization that brings together the 7 stakeholders that you can see on the screen right now to make the production and consumption of palm oil sustainable. So we have members that cut across the entire palm oil supply chain, and also environmental and social NGOs that are involved and are concerned with palm oil production. And finally, we also have banks and investors that are funding the entire industry. So it's crucial for us to have the reason why we have all these 7 stakeholders is because we understand that if we want to drive change, we have to include every stakeholder that is involved in the value chain. So since this is an ISIL Evidensia session alongside UNDP facts, I'd just like to mention that RSPO has been a ISIL member since 2013, and we have been code compliant since 2015. Next, please. Okay, so how do we ensure that our the production and consumption of palm oil is sustainable? Very briefly, we employ the standards and certification scheme, very much similar to ISPO and MSPO. So at the RSPO, we have 3 standards. The first one being the principles and criteria that is applicable to palm oil producers. It ensures oil palm is grown and produced sustainably. We also have the supply chain certification standard that is applicable for downstream operators, and it's a chain of custody standard for certified sustainable palm oil. And finally, we have also developed a separate standard specifically catered for independent smallholders, because we understand that it is very challenging for smallholders to achieve full compliance against principles and criteria. So we released the first independent smallholder standard in 2019 and an updated version in 2024. So how do we ensure that our members comply with these standards? We have the third-party certification. We employ ASI accredited third-party certification bodies to conduct audits and evaluate our members' compliance against the RSPO standards. Next, please. So very briefly, as we speak right now, RSPO has over 6,000 members covering 105 countries and territories globally. So like what Prof. Etsuyo has mentioned in her slide, we do have a strong presence in North America and also in European region. As you can see on the slide, the top 10 RSPO members by countries and territories. The first is United States, followed by Germany and United Kingdom. But I would also like to just mention that in recent years, we have been seeing good growth in terms of good increase in the number of organizations that have joined RSPO in emerging markets like China, Japan, and even in Indonesia and Malaysia. Next, please. So yeah, with that brief introduction, I'm going to go into RSPO's journey with smallholders. So at the RSPO, smallholders are a key player within the palm oil industry and at the heart of what we do as well. And what you see on the screen right now is basically the different means that we have used to include smallholders in this sustainability journey. So the very first one that I've mentioned previously was to develop a separate standard for independent smallholders. This is with an aim to increase smallholder inclusion through a simplified approach to certification. I will speak a little bit more about our approach shortly. But at the same time, we know that smallholders continue to face financial and technical challenges to implement sustainability practices on the ground and to achieve certification. So at the RSPO, we also have the RSPO Smallholder Support Fund, which is 10% of our annual income that is directed towards helping smallholders achieve certification without incurring cost. And in terms of technical assistance, we have also developed the Smallholder Trainer Academy. We use the train the trainers approach to help build smallholders' capacity through access to high quality training and resources. But these 3 means that I've spoken so far is specifically focused on the upstream portion, which is directly on the smallholders on palm oil production. But we realized that in order to drive smallholder inclusivity, it is key that we include all players within the markets and include the downstream members as well. So that's why we have developed the smallholder engagement platform. It is a platform to help to connect smallholders with potential project partners. This could be our downstream members, or even downstream members, or even our environmental, social NGOs, banks, and investors, who this is where they can connect directly with the smallholders and help them with projects. It could be related to livelihoods. It could be related to sustainability practices on the ground and on certification. And finally, we also have the shared responsibility. This is mandated for all our downstream members whereby they have to demonstrate their efforts for smallholder inclusion. Because in terms of sustainability, it has to be shared responsibility across all actors within the value chain. So this is what we have been working on from the early years until now. Next slide, please, Laura. Yes, and I've mentioned that I'll speak a little bit about our approach for the smallholder standard. For the independent smallholder standard, we use a phased approach because we know that transformation towards sustainability practices and certification cannot happen at one go for smallholders. They need it to be a step-by-step journey. So our phased approach is aimed at recognizing the progress that the smallholders have made and reward them for the improvements that they have demonstrated over time. So very briefly, as you can see on the screen right now, we have 3 phases for our certification for the smallholders. The first one being the entry level or eligibility. Second is on progress, milestone A within 2 years. And finally, full compliance or milestone B. So at each stage, there is something that the smallholders can do. When the smallholders meet the minimum requirements at eligibility, they can then sell 40% of their oil palm fresh fruit bunch as RSPO smallholder credits, and that provides them with additional income. When they move towards milestone A, they can sell a higher number of percentage of their FFP, which is about 70% as RSPO smallholder credits. And finally, when they meet full compliance, 100% of their FFP can be sold as certified through physical supply chain models or RSPO smallholder credits. What we hope through this approach is that as they journey towards sustainability, at each step, they receive some sort of improvement that can help to motivate them, but also help them in their journey towards achieving sustainability certification. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, as we speak right now, globally, in terms of smallholders, RSPO covers around more than 100,000 smallholders globally that are certified. But this number, 100,000, covers both scheme smallholders as well as independent smallholders. For the purpose of this webinar today, I'm just focusing on the independent smallholder portions. So right now, we have approximately 46,000 smallholders that are certified against RSPO, covering about 135,000 hectare and 2 million metric tons of FFP. If you look at this number, it is not impressive because we know that globally is estimated we have approximately 7 million smallholders globally. Against that backdrop, this is considered a small number. But if you look, Laura, if you could just click on the screen. Yes, thank you. So if you look at percentage growth, RSPO has seen tremendous growth in the numbers of smallholders that have achieved RSPO certification. Since 2018, and the reason why we have used the 2018 baseline is because 2019 was when the independent smallholder standard was introduced. So since then, we have seen 404% growth in the number of smallholders that have achieved RSPO certification. And of course, that also translates to growth for both hectareage and metric tons of FFP. So despite us seeing year-on-year growth for smallholders that have achieved certification, it is still not at scale. And that's one of the main challenges that we are facing at RSPO. So right now, I'm going to share with you about what RSPO is focusing on and what we intend to do in order to scale smallholder, achieving certification and also implementing sustainability practices. Next slide, Laura. Okay, so yes, the missing link, like what Mr. Hasbullah has been saying, intermediaries. For us at the RSPO, we know that no smallholders can achieve certification by themselves. And some of the ongoing challenges that are faced by smallholders include legality, as well as group formation. And at the RSPO, to achieve membership and certification, we require smallholders to come in as a group at a scale. And the group formation itself is a challenge. Imagine having to bring together so many smallholders. You need that level of trust and the existing structure. And this is where intermediaries, they could be cooperatives, they could be FFB traders, they could be local aggregators. They are critical enablers because they have existing structure, they have the existing trust and day-to-day engagement with smallholders. So right now, our current focus is working on, with intermediaries to unlock skill and sustainability. An example on this screen right now is an example of what we have worked on previously in recent years. We have worked in Indonesia with FOTASPI, also stands for Indonesia Sustainable Palm Oil Farmers Forum, to transform and accelerate the implementation of sustainable palm oil standard by smallholders. So through FOTASPI, we have worked with smallholders across 7 regions in Indonesia to implement sustainability practices. And I just want to mention that, you know, at RSPO, this approach that we are working on in terms of working with intermediaries will apply with or without certification or with or without regulation. The focus here is about building a supportive system to ensure that smallholders can implement sustainable practices. Next slide, please. At the same time, we have also been mandated by our board to align with country-specific systems by collaborating with local governments. The goal here is to complement national sustainability efforts, reduce duplication, and enhance efficiency. So an example that I'm showing here now is our ongoing MOU between RSPO and Jambi provincial government. What we aim to do is to set in motion the certification of smallholders under both ISPO and RSPO, with Yayasan Setara Jambi leading the outreach. Here we are looking to have 2,266 smallholders stepping into certification. And because we have that collaboration with the local government, about 70% of these smallholders have already achieved their STDP, which is a cultivation registration license for them to operate. And we have also trained over 50 regional facilitators, mapped farmer plots, built organizational capacity, and piloted ISPO certification for 1,100 farmers. Here, I just want to mention that smallholders inclusion takes trust, it takes teamwork, and it takes courage to innovate together. And the success lies on 3 key pillars, which are government ownership, coordinated action across all actors, including RSPO, and to ensure that we provide real incentives for farmers on the ground. And then next, and finally, because RSPO is a market-driven organization and system, we will continue to focus our efforts on bridging the markets, connecting smallholders with the buyers, because we understand that market linkages drives demand, investment, and long-term sustainability. So as we speak right now, for example, we continue to work with our downstream members to source sustainably and invest in smallholder inclusion. We are currently working, for example, with a member in Japan on a landscape approach in Malaysia. And in terms of regulation, when you see increasing regulation and trade and traceability, as both Mr. Hasbullah and Mr. Eddie Yusuf has mentioned, RSPO is also working on a trade and traceability system, also known as PRISMA, that stands for Palm Resource Information and Sustainability Management. This system is aimed at improving trade and compliance, organize information, and optimize supply chain efficiency. So some of the features of PRISMA system can be seen on the screen. And just want to mention that by enabling traceability and compliance documentation, PRISMA helps to ensure that smallholder produced palm oil can be linked to compliant, traceable supply chains, and that helps to prevent them from being excluded. So we work with operators and traders using PRISMA to collect and upload the data relating to due diligence information on behalf of the smallholders that they are engaging with, and can keep smallholders engaged and connected to the markets. So next slide. And finally, I just want to say that at the RSPO, we understand that we cannot do this alone in terms of smallholder inclusivity. For us, smallholder inclusion requires shared responsibility, collaboration, and innovation. And that is the reason why our vision stands at a global partnership for sustainable palm oil. Thank you.
Thank you very much Cheryl, for that in-depth walkthrough of the smallholder work. And thank you again to all our presenters for taking the time to share with us today. It's clear there's an incredible amount of work going on that you stepped away from to give us these insights. So now we're coming to our panel Q&A. For the audience, we're running a little ahead of time, so there may be an opportunity to ask a question, so please do submit them in the Q&A box. You can find that by pressing more at the bottom of your screen, and the Q&A box will be there. But of course, if you can't find it, please just put your questions in the chat. So the first question for our panel today touches on your engagement with emerging markets. While we're often hearing about palm oil exporting to mature markets, for example, Europe, it would be great to hear from each of you. In expanding your reach, what different government or industry engagement strategies are you using to expand your presence in emerging markets, for example, China and India? So I'll come in reverse presenting order. So Cheryl, if I can come to you first, please, and give you each 2 minutes to address the question.
Yes, sure. Thanks, Naomi, for that. So at the RSPO, our approach in emerging markets like China and India is really guided by the market-driven model that we have. Adapting to each country's unique needs and readiness for sustainability. So for example, in China, there is a strong momentum towards sustainability with growing investments in ESG practices. And China not only import palm oil products, but they are also exporting. So they're meeting international demand for sustainable products. In India, while palm oil production is primarily focused on domestic consumption, there is also growing emphasis on social equity and smallholder empowerment. So what we do is we have representatives in both these markets and other emerging markets as well. And what they do is they work to try to understand the local context, the local priorities, and how any approach that we have is focusing on ensure that we can help these markets transition to responsible production, but at the same time aligning with their local priorities in each of these markets. So I invite that while I'm not sharing in detail what are the specific interventions that we are doing in these markets, but I welcome you to reach out to me and I can connect you with my colleagues in these regions. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And now, Mr. Yusuf, if I could have your comments on that question.
Thank you. First of all, right now we already involve all the stakeholders to expand our markets, and we still manage the current market, especially in US, China, and also in EU. And then we together with the NGO as well, we always try to work together. That's to try to looking for the new markets, and not only with the NGO but also with the private sector, all the stakeholder. And we are sure that with this new ISPO, we will convince international market that we are more transparent and more traceability with our palm oil. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. And Maud, next to
Yeah,
you.
maybe I will look at it at different perspective, because before we are talking about the demand for sustainable palm oil, because we are national scheme MSPO, we also look into data where, of course, China and India is, I think, our top 2 importer of Malaysian palm oil, and considering the limited resources that we have, so we are really leveraging a G2G platform that we have through for example, through maybe negotiations and any other initiative that can encourage the presence and visibility of the need for alternative of, if I may say, of CSPO, certified sustainable palm oil. And this also require different strategy for B2B engagement, and speaking from government certification scheme or national scheme, we have the ability to, you know, to meet or maybe to benchmark and to have a potential mutual collaboration with China, for example, under the China Green Food, for example, yeah, and to see the potential of certification pathway or maybe green land between countries under the umbrella of the countries. And of course, for India, is a price sensitive market and handling certification sustainability. We always have different data in what we do in MSPO. We have always looked into different indicators and have a composite index of both any or of any countries, and we have to consider many things. So apart from G2G, maybe also we also offering services and support to Indian market, and also maybe to see where we stand in terms of supporting their own national interest on sustainability. Because when we speak about CSPO, they always speak about pricing, the cost of doing things, whether they should compensate or they shouldn't compensate, whether it's just a matter of pricing. So it's very different strategy for both China and India, but China now moving towards also green financing, and we are now heavily engaged with their stakeholders there in supporting their green transition. Thank you.
A lot of smart uses of existing mechanisms and networks and flexibility and how you're reacting to the different dynamics. Ezio, if I could come to you
Thank you
for your
very much.
comments on an overview.
Yeah, I am not the certification body, but
Mhm.
well, I think it's as Hasbora said that I think government to government initiative is really important for emerging market initiatives. And well, Japan is not considered as an emerging market, but then we use a public procurement system to utilize this byproduct certified by MSPO, for example, in order to support smallholders and so on. So there are different ways for approaching to the emerging markets. So it's really nice to hear the updated information how each of the bodies are approaching emerging markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our second predefined question is the big one, really. One on the sector's harmonization and collaboration. So if I could come to each of you, if you could sum up how you feel the different standards could collaborate or align to strengthen the overall sustainable governance of the palm oil sector. And again, I'll come to you first, Cheryl.
Sure. Thanks, Naomi. So I think hearing from both, Mr. Hasbullah as well as Mr. Eddie Yusof, I do see a lot of overlap in the things that we are working on. So as per my presentation, I think at the RSPO, we know that we cannot work in isolation. So partnership and collaboration are truly the way forward for RSPO. And now, if you're looking at in terms of the standards and initiatives, right, each of the standards have their own strengths and areas of focus. However, I think rather than working in parallel, we believe that there is a real opportunity to build greater alignment and efficiency, like for example, in joint auditing. While it's true that our respective standards may have differing criteria, there are also many areas where I think the requirements overlap and are closely aligned. So I think if we could explore mechanisms such as joint audits or shared verification processes, we can help to really reduce the duplication for producers and companies on the ground, help to lower costs and improve consistency and credibility across the sector. So that's my point of view. Thanks, Naomi.
Thanks, Cheryl. Mr. Yusof, back to you.
Yeah, actually, together with the MSPO, as you know, that we and Malaysia is involved in the CPOPC, Council of Palm Oil Producing Countries. So we always hand in hand together, and to make sure that ISPO and also MSPO is accepted in the international markets. And together with the RSPO, we often discuss as well how to not overlapping, help each other. And also we in Indonesia stressing that actually all the certification by respected countries, including Malaysia as well, is actually all this already meets the international principle. The international principle is SEE, meaning that social, economic, and environment. So that's why in many occasions in the international arena, I always saying that actually please international accepted the respected certification standard that's actually is already meets the requirement standard. That is, as I said, that social, economic, and environment. So that is very important. So that's why we really hope that consumer countries realize about this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. Maud, again to you for your comments.
Yeah, I agree though with Pak Eddie, Mr. Eddie and Cheryl. I always like to give a different perspective or different angle. You see, is either realistic or idealistic. So we have to acknowledge that people already now speaking about certification fatigue, right? It's not only about MSPO, RSPO, ISPO, ISCC, EUDR, whatnot, right? But they are talking about themselves. Now, I dare to say they are suffering. They are suffering, because they have to compare so many things, and harmonization in terms of auditing. This is something that we have done before with RSPO. Of course, there are technical consideration we need to look into. Because MSPO have different accreditation body, RSPO different accreditation body because we are using third-party verification. And when we go detail into management system, right, we have under the ISO guidance of what we are doing now in managing certification body or auditing, we have integrated audit or combined audit. And this is also very, very detailed that we have to consider whether we allow integrated meaning we merged all together under one checklist and audit, which I think we have many concern on the accreditation side and assurance, or we are moving towards other pathway like combined audit. It's not like this, but it's like this, and we can carry out the audit and we don't violate or breach any of the assurance or accreditation requirement. So there's so many technical discussion needed, but I know harmonization is possible. We have done that before to support the industry, but I would like to see beyond auditing actually to support eventually our own industry in Malaysia, Indonesia, in any other producing countries. So it's a very I encourage, and it's a very good move, and I would like to see more collaboration in the future, especially for the certification schemes. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Maud. So a lot of goodwill I'm hearing around the panel, and a good reminder that we're very much operating in the arena of the art of the possible. Etzia, I'd like to have your comments from your overview point of view.
Yes, it's really nice to hear from the other speakers about their own view. And then, in terms of the producer's perspective, harmonization is really important in order to reduce the duplications. But also, I think, because different certification body have different characteristics, and the RSPO is more linked to consumer market, and then RSPO has more innovative view on doing things, and then producer countries certification is more footed on the ground truth and so on. So I think there are the roles, different roles to play, but in terms of, from the perspectives of producers and technicality, we need a harmonization. So hope there is a way that the good point is remained, and then duplication is reduced. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Etu. I think there's a couple of follow-on questions from the audience on these particular points. So one is, are there any talks between the certifications of recognizing each other's work, for example, in accepting each other's material along the supply chain? I think we've touched on that a little bit with some previous work on auditing and verification processes. And do each certifications attempt to harmonize their principles or standards to the upcoming EUDR? So another potential point of conversion for everyone to align around. I'm not sure who would like to answer either of those questions. Please just unmute yourself.
Yeah, if you want to speak about between certification, I guess they are referring to the current, the present one. We have MSPO, RSPO, ISPO. I'm not saying it's a closed door, it's a no, but I think we need to have a very transparent and technical discussion on this, because maybe people not within the certification sustainability system ecosystem, they or environment, they don't understand how sustainability system works. It's not only about the idea of mutual recognition, but also the idea of technicality on, as I mentioned earlier, assurance, governance, and so many things, and the willingness to sacrifice something, because eventually it will converted into market share. I can say it frankly, when we speak about certified sustainable palm oil, right? So I think it's going to be a long discussion, and it's also maybe involve policy call if we speak about national scheme. But I believe there's room for improvement and room for progress for these three schemes. Yeah, that's my view. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else from the panel like to comment on that, or perhaps the question of EUDR conversion?
I think I fully agree what Pak Hasbullah mentioning about the we must inline each other, or make sure that is not in the code is not compete each other, because this is the certification standard or scheme that is actually, again, that I said before, that actually is all is good. MSPO is good. ISPO is good. ISPO is good. ISPO is good. MSPO is good. And all of the certificated standard is already meets the very, very detailed in the to meet the requirements, to meet the principle that they must meet. For example, for the ISPO, of course, and MSPO and ISPO as well, that's all of that is met the regulation. Must have we have what we call it, approve it that the land that they use it is right, not this is not in the code is bad, right, bad land. So I think again that we need to I really agree that we need to inline each other. And related with the EUDR as well, that's from the perspective of Indonesia, we also is changing a lot to meet the requirement of EUDR, even though that this is the changing is not only meet EUDR, but all the international market. We make everything is more transparent, more traceability, and hopefully it can be accepted in the international market. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl, Ezio, would you like to come in on that? Otherwise, we can move to another question.
No, I just want to say that I fully agree with Mr. Hasbullah as well as Mr. Adi. I think all certification standards are good, and with the same aim, of bringing and advancing sustainability within the industry. So it's really good to be complementing each other. And in terms of EUDR, I think RSPO, we've been continuously working with our members to help them meet the EUDR requirements. So at this moment, I don't have more to add, but I do have colleagues in the EU region who are actively engaging with the EU government as well on the EUDR. Yeah. So that's all from my end. Thank you.
Yeah, similarly on the EUDR, we MSP also, of course, try to improve our system. So we're going to have also MSPO add-on for EUDR to support the Malaysian palm oil industry. And also, I want to respond to the last question here about the smallholders inclusion in decision making. In our experience, in our standard development processes, where we develop part 2.1 and part 2.2 for independent smallholders and organized smallholders. Yes, it is actually involve smallholders associations, personal through public comment, also through working group and also technical committee and national standard committee. Their voice were heard, and of course that's the challenges that we have in MSPO, where raising the floor is not as easy as changing the ceiling, I would say. So yes, smallholders inclusive. They are part of our decision making. They're also part of they're also part of our Senate development process. They also have voice in policy shaping in MSPO and in Malaysia. Yeah.
Thank you, Mud. So the question Mud was referring to is, in order to focus on smallholder inclusion, do every sustainability standard include organized independent smallholders that work on the ground in forum or decision-making processes? Would Mr. Yusuf like to come in on that?
Yes. Like in Malaysia as well, that we involve smallholder in the decision-making process, including the new regulation also involve them, because we realize that the number of the smallholder, the ownership of the land of the smallholder is in Indonesia is 41.3% of the total land of the palm oil, around 6.55 million hectare, from the total of the area 16.38 million hectares. So we realize that is 41.3% of the land ownership by smallholder. It means that we must involve them in the supply chains and also in the process decision making. But not only for the smallholder, we also involve for all the stakeholder to issues the new regulation. We involve not only involve the Indonesia inside as well, but involve the international. UNDP also is very active to involve with our supporting for the issuing the new regulation. UNDP from the UK as well, from the Switzerland. So that's why, as I said, that's please that producing countries is already make progress, improvements. So please, we really hope that international market will accept it. Not only I'm talking from Indonesia side, but of course it's with my fellow Pak Hasbullah from Malaysia as well. That is very important. In many occasions, I always saying that it's very important that please accept it. Not only by using you have developed countries or consuming countries, they have a standard by themselves. Not do like that. Please do not like that. If the producing countries is already have the goods, already have a standard or certificated standard, it means that they already meet the international standard. Thank you.
Cheryl, to give an answer from RSPO.
Yeah, sure. So from the RSPO, I think we are a consensus-based decision-making organization. So, and our consensus is drawn from all the stakeholder groups that I've shown to you, shown earlier on one of my slides. And that includes smallholders as well. So yes, they are also involved in the decision making. And in recent years, as we're working on different aspects of our standards, we have also specifically brought in smallholders globally to give their opinion on the development of any components of our standards and more. So yes, thank you.
Very much, Cheryl. Ezia, maybe I give you an opportunity to have a last comment on anything you've heard today before we'll wrap up.
Oh, thank you very much. This was a really nice opportunity for me to learn from all, and by Yusuf, Hasbora, and then Serial. Then I am very happy to know that the effort has been made a lot, and then making a lot of progress. And then there's no room for us to compete with each other. We really need to collaborate to cover whole area, because there are so many smallholders we need to assist. So, and then also for consumer countryside, we really need to understand the situation, and then we need to find out where we can, the space that we can collaborate. Thank you very much.
And thank you all. I think we could really continue on all of these points, but I'm afraid there's never enough time, and we're almost out of it for today. So I hope this has given everyone in the audience a good insight into the range of work that's happening. Thank you again to our esteemed speakers for that engaging and insightful discussion and giving us a taste of the sector's development. Now, to bring today's session to a close, I'm just going to hand back to Alex.
Thank you, Naomi. So I would like to extend also my thank you to all the experts and speakers of today's session. And also a big thank you to our colleagues from ISPO. Thank you, Noemi. Also, thank you to Laura Monikowska, who's here on the call, for all the coordinating work. A big thank you to the UNDP Indonesia country office, especially to Diane Wulandari, for also all the coordination and liaising with the coordinating Ministry for Economics Affairs, to our global food systems team, Leif Pedersen for the advisory, Melissa Salazar for the coordination, and Alejandra Garcia for supporting us with the delivery and logistics. And finally, I would like to thank all of the participants for joining us today for this session. Please do take a couple of minutes to share your feedback through the survey, and we'll be sending an email next week where we will include a handout and the recording from the event. And hope to see you in our upcoming events. We will have one joint event with Evidensia next month on digital agriculture, but also stay tuned for other events that either Evidensia will be organizing or the FACS community. Have a good rest of your days, a good afternoon, evening, depending where you're joining us from today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye.